Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel. So today I will be just continuation from my last video clip. I'm actually still walking you through on some of the key evidence of my case. So I will continue. This video clip will be mostly scripted, so I've written it down. The reason for this is so then I don't leave out important information, but everything all makes sense if you've been following me on Facebook. I know when I went on Facebook, everything seemed so confusing, and yeah, it just didn't look right. But everything on my YouTube channel relates to my case historically, and regardless of how much the system has changed, it's really vital and important for you as an individual to be aware of human trafficking, or when you're being targeted, or basically in anything really. Today the only chance that you have to prove your case is in court these days, unfortunately. But yes, the system's changed dramatically over the years. But when a case becomes a criminal case, really serious cases, the person's whole life is taken into account, not bits and pieces. So I'll continue with this video clip. I've purposely written it down so I don't miss anything out. So I'll just continue with it. Substantial evidence must be tangible, or a belief, or an opinion, or conviction that is conforming to reality or fact. I felt that it was appropriate to cover a few more vital key evidence in my case. Some of the evidence that I have disclosed would never be exposed unless either witness disclosed the information willingly. The disadvantage that I've had in the past to my current set of circumstance is that my privacy was already violated without my consent for years. Although I had an early detection subconsciously in the earlier days, there was nothing I could do about it but use a complaints process as things happen. The piece of evidence that I'm about to disclose is a vital piece of information that will change the course of my case, and confirmation of how dangerous it has been and the unfortunate set of circumstances that has been out of my control, other than taking control in the only way possible, and that is making right choices and decisions at that point of time as things happened. Before I do, I want to first of all take you back to video clip 13, when I talked about subject A and the last time I saw her. Just a few more information that I left out that I should have mentioned are as follows. The last time I saw subject A was at work. I was working taking status courts in room 2. My judge at the time was a residential female judge. Subject A was at court for a court hearing for herself for EBA, which is drinking and driving, for those who don't know what EBA is. My colleague in the office, who emailed me whilst I was in court to let me know that subject A was at the counter to see me, was a male. As I was taking court, subject A came into courtroom 2 while I was working, and she sat at the back of the public area for a while, and then she went outside. When I adjourned the courts on one of my court adjournments, I locked up the courtroom and I proceeded to head towards the office when I saw subject A waiting for me out in the foyer. She walked towards me looking upset and distressed. And I said to her, let's go in here. And I walked into one of the rooms that the lawyers use for clients, opposite courtroom 2, and she followed me. She was very upset and said that she was there for her own court case. We had a few short words. We had a short conversation, and I told her to see me later after work, as I had to prep for my next court case. Actually, just in my own words, what actually happened in that room, I was a little bit annoyed with her because I smelled alcohol on her, and I could tell that she had been drinking, but she was distressed, and she was in a very, very not good way. I've never seen her like that myself, but because she had sort of caught me while I was in the middle of taking courts and having an adjournment, I couldn't really talk to her, so I sort of kind of told her off while we were in that room. But she was already distressed, she was angry, and she took her frustration out on me and told me things were really, really, really bad for her. And it was, I'd never seen her like that, but I was just, you know, the timing wasn't good. I didn't expect to see her, and I was actually in a rush because my adjournment was only 15-minute break. It wasn't my lunch break. And I'm just trying to think whether it was a morning or afternoon adjournment. But I did keep the conversation short because I had a lot of things to do to prep before I opened up my next court case. But I did tell her off while we were in there because, you know, I wasn't happy that she'd come see me while you know, I smelled alcohol, and I told her there was nothing I could do for her while I was, you know, working, but to see me later on, and I'll go see her later on. But she took her frustration out on me. She started, you know, she did, you know, swear and that, but that's because she was stressed. She said she was there for her court hearing in the next court that I was in. I was in courtroom 2. She was, her hearing was in courtroom 1. So in my own words, I'll continue this. I've actually scripted it, but I feel I don't need to actually read it, but I'll just tell it as what actually happened. As I said to her, look, I can't talk to you. She was frustrated, and, you know, and so she's kind of took her frustration out on me. But I had to cut our conversation short because I had to get back to work. So as I walked out of the room, I said, look, come and see me later. I can't talk to you right now. I'm really, really busy. And I was very busy. And I had to hurry and do stuff before I opened court. So I walked out, and she was mad and stroppy. And then as we walked out, I saw the security guard, and he's an ex-police prosecutor, well known to everyone, a European a male, and he's well known to everyone. Everyone will know who I'm talking about. And he must have heard, or someone must have seen me and her talking. He actually came and approached me to see if everything was okay, because that's what security guards do when they think that there's something going on, or here, or, you know, they come and just make sure that we're okay, that nothing was going on. And so he actually approached me, and he asked me if I was okay, and I said, yeah, I'm fine. And I said, she's had a few to drink, she's a bit drunk, just keep an eye on her. And I said, because I got to go, and I couldn't have a conversation with him about her or anything. But that was the last time I saw her. I just asked the security guard to keep an eye on her because she's had a few to drink, and that she had a hearing in the other courtroom, but I had to go. So I just left, and that was the last day I actually saw her. So that was the end of that. So a few weeks later, when she stopped seeing me and stuff, I got really worried about her, and then I went, I think maybe several times I went to the local police station to report her missing. And I actually did report it properly, and I actually had an incident number, because I wasn't only reporting her, about her. I was concerned about other stuff. There were 2 separate incidents that I made a report on when I went to the local police station, and I can confirm that's not there now. That's not there today. Okay, subject B's description is a female Caucasian from England, slim build, and she was 5'8", has thick curly hair that is naturally ginger blonde, but she usually dyes her hair bleach blonde and other colours. She usually keeps her hair real short, and her eyes are hazel green blue. She had dentures the last time she was visiting me the last few months, that she said someone close to her that we both know gave her $500 and paid for her to have all her teeth pulled out, and so she got some denture, but the person that gave it to her is someone that we were both close to. Okay, subject B visited me regularly at the counter over the years before we drifted apart because of the cyberbullying I was subject to at the time. Her photo was on Facebook page, and I have reason to believe she is a key witness to this case and has been used by the opposition over the years. I have a reason to believe that she was in a life-threatening set of circumstance at the time when I first met her in 2005. It appeared that she was in hiding from someone or some people. It was not until much later, as I got to know her, that she'd had close affiliation with many gangs, for example, the Black Power Headhunters, and very likely others, as she'd been involved in this type of environment over 10 years at that time I met her. Do I believe she was genuine about her newfound faith and made a sincere change in her behaviour and lifestyle at the time when I met her? This is what I'm talking about. Yes, I do believe she made genuine change at that time. However, I believe the unlawful investigations and the serious breach of privacy within the workplace had made connections with those with the same mindset, and whoever she was hiding from found her. This was confirmation in a conversation I had with both subject A and B in 2 separate conversations individually. Subject A one day disclosed to me that she was shocked when that subject B was seeing someone she knew, and she didn't know how they knew each other so well. She went on to identifying to me who this person was, but it was the first time I'd heard anything about it because I was very close to subject B at that time, and she usually tells me everything, so I never made a big deal about it because I felt it was her business, and if she wanted to tell me herself, she will. It was not until I'd visited her at her home address at Glendale that I saw a red motorbike parked outside her house at that time. At that time, I'd visited her. Was early in the morning, and I did not go to her door and knock because it looked like he'd stayed overnight. It was obvious by this time they were both seeing each other very seriously, but I never questioned subject B about it because it was her business, and I didn't feel it was my business. If she wanted to tell me, then that's fine, but that's what I'm like. Then one day she brought him up in one of our conversations at her house and said the male's name to me and said that he'd been looking for me. She said he was a very old friend and she was happy to see him. Just going back from memory, this is around about 2007. This conversation me and her had, and he came in the picture. So I asked her if he was the one with the red motorbike parked outside her house, and then I told her that I saw his bike there when I'd visited her, and then I didn't come in. I actually told her about the visit, but yeah, she confirmed it was him. Then a few weeks or a month later or two, subject A said that subject B was pregnant to this guy she had met, and I will call him subject E. This was later confirmed by someone at church who had advised me that subject B was very sick and vomiting, and that she had to go to the hospital, and that she was going to be picked up by someone from church who lived next door to me on the opposite direction. As things progressed worse for me after lodging official complaints, now this is going to 2010 complaints, with the Commissioner of Police, IBCA and other government agencies, I knew I was in serious duress set of circumstance when these complaints were declined in 2010. There are no words to describe what I went through for the next couple of years or so, as I tried to avoid or walk through the premeditated schemes and plans and plots by the opposition. I honestly had no other choice but to endure and continue on, leaving a trail of evidence whenever possible. One day, whilst I was at work in the office on level 1, I decided to look outside the window to see what the weather was like, as I was deciding whether I should walk up the road, because where I was working, I didn't live very far from the shops and stuff. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. So I decided one day, I'll tell this one in my own words, I decided one day to go for my lunch break, but at this time what I was going through was over and above, for one person to go through, but I had to go through it silently. I knew I was in serious duress set of circumstance, but one day I decided to go look out the window, and I was just thinking to myself whether I should go up to get some lunch or stay in the office. By this time, the criminal harassment was really, really intense and very dangerous, very, very, very dangerous. And I knew I couldn't just go anywhere. So I just had to just stay within my routine of what I was doing, work and anything else that I did in my private life, and I just stay public. And I just knew I couldn't just go anywhere public or anywhere isolated by myself. So this particular day I decided to look outside the window just to check the weather out, and then I saw this guy that knew subject B very, very, very well, and he said subject B didn't know that subject A had told me about this person that she was actually seeing. But I never told her that. That was a piece of information I kept to myself because I was close to both of them. So I never told her what she said and what the other person said. So I didn't I didn't. I just treated them both the same, and what they confided in me was between me and them, and I just kept it at that. So that's how it was. But subject B didn't have a clue that I already knew about him, and nor did this person. I'm going to call him subject E, and I will disclose later who he is. But as I looked out the window, to get ready to go to, or, you know, like I said, I was trying to decide whether I was going to go out for lunch or stay in the office. I decided I was going to go out for lunch, and I saw this person just across the road with his motorbike, the exact red motorbike, and it was him, because I'd done my own investigation. I can identify him, but he was standing there talking to somebody that I knew really well, because she's my best friend's sister-in-law. I've got several best friends from childhood, but this best friend was she was my neighbour, and I'd known her for 6 years. It was her sister-in-law talking to this man on the red motorbike, and he had parked his bike across the road, and he had his helmet, he was all dressed up in his motorbike, and he was standing there talking to her with the helmet underneath his armpit. And I could tell that, you know, I straight away I was like, oh my gosh, because usually the things that I've been going through, I have found that the opposition has to always identify that they're stalking the right person, and I have found it that they actually use people that you know. So there's another tip of, you know, something to be aware of. But these people who are secretly targeting you actually use people that you know to identify you, because they have to be sure that it's you. And then they also use, you know, marks on your body or whatever. They have to make sure that they're actually, you know, stalking the right person. Well, I saw this person talking to that female whom I knew very well, and she is the ex of my best friend's brother, whom I'm close to too, and I grew up with them. So they were talking together, and then I just knew that I had to be careful. So, but as I was getting ready to go out of the office, he came around the corner. I actually walked right past him. He checked me out, looked at me up and down, and I'd come out of the office, but I was heading towards the door, the entrance to go down the stairs on level 1, and then there's a ladies' room, the ladies' toilets entrance. There's an entrance there, then there's the ladies' toilets, and then there's a lift on level 1. And so I walked towards there, because that's where I usually go, and I take the back entrance to go back downstairs to level 1 to go out. He came around the corner as I was walking towards that door, and he walked right past me. I saw him in the corner of my eyes, and he was checking me out. I knew exactly who he was. He didn't know I knew who he was, but I just, like, you know, just acted normal and just went on with my day. And words can't explain all the emotions I was feeling at the time. I felt like, oh my gosh, you know, this is like really serious stuff. But I never told anyone. None of these things. Not for. Oh gosh. Well, not until I started writing stuff on my journal. So if anybody knows anything, it's because they've read my journals that I write. But I didn't tell anyone any of these things. I kept them to myself, but I knew, you know, common sense, that I had to be very, 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 very careful, which I was. As time went on and I realized that the complaint process wasn't going to work for me, I made the decision to move. I moved quite a bit, several times from 2010. I'd say in a total of like 8 to 10 times within maybe 3 years or 4. I moved that much, maybe more. for the purpose of, I was trying to get my privacy, but it followed me wherever I went. So I couldn't do anything about it. And it wasn't until, where was I? I was living not far from my sister and brother-in-law up in Pars Cross Road. I was actually living there. And then leading up to that time, when I sent the letters of complaint to this person, something about what I was going through with that name, it rang the bell, but it didn't click to me until much later. Until then, I met him, and then it wasn't until I actually saw him across the road, and then everything, like within my conscience, I was so unsettled. How you just have that feeling something's not right, and there's, like you get a flashback or memory about something and it doesn't leave you because it's so important. And then it clicked to me who that person was. And I was even more scared as things unfolded. And I realized that the person, subject E, was the person that I actually sent the letters of complaint to. And he actually left his job because I sent a first letter to him dated in the first week of May. He responded to it, but I don't think he took me seriously at first. And then I wrote a second letter. I was pretty, if you've read my letter, my second letter was quite like, I was appalled. Like, I didn't know who he was. I was just appalled at the reaction because I wanted the car accident investigated, and I'd put sufficient evidence, to initiate investigation. But the response I'd got back, I was like, he was declining it. He wasn't taking me seriously, and so I was appalled. My letter, I felt I was distressed, basically begging for help. And then when he sent me back the response declining it, and then he left his job like quite suddenly after the second letter. And I actually rang his office and I spoke to someone, and they told me that he had actually left. But he had referred the complaint to somebody else in Takapuna. So I actually rang this person while this time I was still at Trojan. I actually rang this person and had a conversation with this person that apparently he had transferred to in Takapuna, and I couldn't understand why they weren't going to investigate, because I knew it was a legit complaint. And they weren't even going to take even the car accident seriously. And I had followed the legal proper format, and I can still prove that to this day in the court of law, that I can actually prove that I did follow the proper procedure for protected disclosure. So they got all that. And in that protected disclosure, it had two separate applications, one for the church and one for work. But at that stage, church was only just gossip, and I just, but the evidence mainly focused on the workplace bullying that I was going through, and there was sufficient evidence there for a concern. And plus, I had reason to believe that car accident was linked to everything that I was going through. But they didn't take me seriously, so I was like really shocked that not even the car accident, they weren't going to take it seriously. And they kept saying, both times they said it wasn't, even IBCA said it wasn't their job, but according to the law, it was their job. They just had no intentions of helping me out at all, unfortunately. But in saying that, they had perverted the course of justice. And I knew that, to have something so serious like that to be declined, it was even worse for me at that time. But I can confirm and verify that subject E, who was a person that I sent the complaints to as the Commissioner of Police. I can verify what he looks like, and he did leave his job suddenly. But from then on, I couldn't do anything about it except write out my situation that I was in, which I did. So I'd leave it at that for now, and I will continue on with the next video. I just felt that all of these key elements were important. The disappointing thing is that you know, the system has let me down, excuse me, but so I'm hoping my channel, you know, will get the, you know, something's got to be done to make sure that it doesn't happen again to somebody else. But according to the law, I did follow through the proper legal procedure. You know, like in the olden days when people make such complaints, they took these sort of things really serious, a breach. It would have been better that they investigated it, and then I got it wrong, or I wasted their time, and then they charged me. But they didn't. They didn't even consider. They had no intentions of actually even investigating the car accident. For maybe a next several months or so, or a year or so, I kept following up about a car accident, and they kept giving me unsatisfactory response. There was sufficient evidence for an arrest, and you know, even just to charge someone for careless use of you know, careless driving causing an injury, because that accident did cause an injury to me at that time. So that is my case. So now I will just leave it at that, and I think I've said enough to cover the key elements of my case. So I'll talk to you soon.